What is up, everybody? I have a Gears of War Ultimate Edition King of the Hill gameplay for you here. I know you're probably dying to play the Gears of War 4 beta and see footage from that, but if you're like me, you're stuck waiting until at least the 18th to get your hands on it. So for the meantime, this game will have to do. There is tons of videos out there now for Gears of War 4. If you're familiar with the Razored Edge or SAS Shadows, they've been posting tons of content, and Gears of War actually just had a stream showcasing the game. So needless to say, there is tons of information out there. Just briefly about the gameplay, it's 3v4 almost the whole way through. I'm playing with my friend Dylan. He's quite good, as you'll see. The match was 35 minutes long, so I actually cut it down to just over 10 minutes of gameplay, just the highlights of the match. We were playing a full team, and they were in a party, I'm assuming by the matching gamer tags, and it made for a pretty intense match. So that's just a little bit about the gameplay, but more importantly is the topic I wanted to cover, and that is the idea of expectations as they relate to the Gears of War 4 beta. So I feel like a beta can be a double-edged sword in the sense that it can get people really excited about the game and pull in an audience, but it can also drive people away if they form negative impressions of the game and project that onto the final product. And I think that's something we've seen happen a little bit for a small audience, and that's the audience I wanted to kind of address. So if you remember, a few days ago there was a gameplay leak of Gears of War 4 alpha footage, and some people responded positively and some were saying, oh wow, this game doesn't look that great, the graphics aren't great, and they were basically drawing conclusions that weren't favorable about the game, even though it's not the final product. And I kind of just had to stop for a second and think, like, really is that what's going on? So I think this is kind of important to address, because the type of impressions people form about the game will influence their behavior when it comes to how they speak about it or whether or not they're going to purchase it. I think it goes without saying that people form impressions of things. In this case, people will form impressions of the beta, whether it be positive or negative, and that's completely normal. But it's important to remember what the purpose of the beta is, and that is to provide constructive criticism. And those are the two golden words that I kind of want to drive home: constructive criticism. This game is not the final product. If you go in with the expectation of wanting something that is perfect and something doesn't align with what you had expected, you may inevitably set yourself up for this negative impression that you put on the game that is not even final. And I think that's completely ridiculous. If you've watched the stream, there's tons of information now about what we can expect in terms of gameplay, and they said that it is a pre-alpha build, which means things are not final. In specific, the graphics are not. Some of the mechanics they're questioning what to do with them, such as grenade tagging. I think that's an example of something that people would say that they were not favorable towards based on how it worked in previous games. But once again, the point of the beta is just to get feedback as to whether or not these mechanics add to the game or make it less enjoyable. And I think that's the type of mentality that people need to enter the beta having. So the bottom line that I'm trying to get at is that you don't have to be a cheerleader for the Gears of War 4 beta if you don't love it. Hopefully we all enjoy it. I think there's a good chance we will. Rather, you should enter the game, and when you're playing, you should be thinking actively, what do I like about the beta? What do I dislike about the beta? For the latter points, you should also be thinking of ways that it can be improved, because it does nobody any good if you just express what it is you dislike about something and then offer no ways to improve it. So for me, I'm going to be keeping a critical eye out for things like grenade tagging on the walls, how the retro lancer plays, and the idea of a cooldown for wall canceling, and perhaps active reloads whenever they can be used. So let me make this clear. Don't mistake this for me having these pre-made judgments as to how those game mechanics work. What I'm trying to say is that I'm just going to be aware of them, I'm going to test them, and if I like them, then that's great. If I think there's something that can be improved, I'm going to provide feedback. Now, I'm sure some people are probably thinking that what's the point of providing feedback? The Coalition doesn't really care what I think. But on the contrary, if you've been keeping up with the Gears of War forums or their Twitter, the coalition has made it very clear that they want to implement the feedback from the community into the game, and I think a lot of the announcements that we've heard are true to this. But just to provide avenues for feedback, post in the forums. They also have a program where you can provide feedback through surveys, and I'm going to link that in the channel, and that's something that everybody who wants to shape Gears of War should actively participate in. I will be participating in that myself. It's important to know, like they said, this is a pre-alpha build. The full game is not scheduled to come out until October 11th, so they even said in the stream this is not a marketing beta. This is a beta that is intended to provide feedback that can be implemented into the final game to make sure that it is as good as it can possibly be. And I think that pretty much encompasses all I wanted to talk about with expectations. And I guess another underlying point that I'm trying to make is just to be realistic. I'm very optimistic for Gears of War 4. I think we've received really good news, but I think it's important that people set realistic expectations so there isn't a disjunction between what people expect and what they actually get. I think we're already off to a great start, and it can only get better, so it's really important that everybody enters this level-headedly and provide feedback from their own gameplay experiences, and I think as a result we'll find that the game is much better off for it, and I think that will really affect the longevity of Gears of War. That'll pretty much wrap up the commentary from my end. Before I go, I will say that obviously when the Gears 4 beta drops, you can expect tons of gameplay and videos from me, much more in line with the older type of content that I used to put out, such as clutch videos or breakdowns of what's going through my head as I'm playing. I want to come up with new names for those series, so if you have any ideas, I'm all ears. And basically when the beta drops, I'm going to do my best to learn how to become highly proficient at the game and hopefully help other people improve as well, so that when the full game drops, we can enter and hopefully do really well off the bat and get higher up on that ranking system that they announced. So I hope you're looking forward to that. I know I am, and if you want to watch the rest of this gameplay, feel free to do so.
Those who would defy you are dead.